All right, not sure kind of what happened there, but it seems like we might have lost Susan there in the mix. So hopefully we can get her back on here. We're having some fun tonight. It's amazing to me every time I have these really excellent shows set up. Always the little squirrels get in the machine and everything kind of gets a little haywire there. So hopefully and prayerfully we can we can get all this situated here. I think that I thought we were on Facebook Live here, but it's telling me all kind of messages saying that we're not live, but it does appear that we're live. I'm certainly sharing with everybody, so not quite sure what's going on. But anyway, listen, we want to thank everybody that's joined in. We got to wait for Susan to come back on. It's funny, every time I mention the Bond girl, Iris, whoever is on at the time, the other person thinks that the Bond girl is there. So everybody thought that was you for a split second. I think it's probably out.
No.
Yeah, she kind of thought that you were the Bond gal. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I don't have any acting abilities at all. So, no. But
well, there
thank
you go.
You for the compliment. No.
Yeah, it definitely was there. So we're gonna try to get Susan back on here again. Again, I'm not sure. I'm gonna check our Facebook login here just to make sure that we are in fact streaming on Facebook. I believe we are.
Okay.
Yep. And yes, and I got everything here from my radio station. Again, guys, I want to put out a shout out. We are actually streaming live on radio as well on WIGO AM 1570, also on WIGOAM.com. So we are triple casting anywhere and everywhere. And I think we got Susan back on the line here. Let's go ahead and hit Susan right here. Susan, are you there?
Yes, sir. Though South Florida, we're not hurricane season yet, but we are getting close. And that's what happens down here in South Florida with all that exciting rain that's going on here.
Oh, look, let me tell you something. It's amazing to me. I was just telling Iris that every time I have like a big show plan, it's like the gremlins get in the machine. They start running around. I get all kind of crazy things going on. But that's telling me I'm on a good track. I always feel if you don't have any interference, if you don't have any resistance, then maybe you should redo it. But the fact I'm getting this resistance is telling me that we might be on to something.
That's right.
That just makes it more exciting, right, Iris?
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
right,
Florida, I didn't realize that Florida was such a big hotbed for bare knuckle fighting, and I guess really, and even Iris and I were talking about this before, how you get into a situation that before bare knuckle, you think about back alleys, you think about illegal betting, all that kind of stuff, and now, I mean, to see it come to the forefront, that is kind of cool.
Yeah, Florida was an early adopter. Oh, there I am. I actually was able to get a picture on as well. Thank you, guys.
There you go.
Hey, technology.
The avatar has arrived.
Florida was not Florida was not quick to jump. Mississippi was first, but Florida is really, we've had a lot of bare knuckle fights down here, and I applaud David Feldman. Valor Bare Knuckle, which is another organization, was scheduled to come here in the spring of this year. Or was it last year? I'm trying to remember, but Ken Shamrock, another terrific fighter, we all know him and love him, was planning on coming to Florida. And there's another gentleman by the name of Gerard Ung, who has an organization called World Lethwei, which is interesting. I'm going to be doing an interview with one of the people he signed from Sweden on Sunday to air in a couple weeks. But he is thinking about coming to Florida. So I think Florida, I'm fortunate because two of the biggest gyms are down here, the former Black Zans, which is, Hard Knocks 360 now. And of course, you've got American Top Team, some great fighters out of Miami as well at MMA Masters. I'm fortunate that I don't have to travel too far to find the best of the best. And I'm not taking that away from anybody. I think we've got a lot of great fighters in Florida.
Well, I think one of the things that we'd like to see here is some more fights in Atlanta. So I got a chance to actually the last live fight I saw was at a place, and Iris, I think you know this place, downtown Atlanta, called the Tabernacle. Believe it or not, they converted this place, which is normally known as like more of like a club or a concert hall, and they turned it into a fight. We had a non-title bout with I think it was Zakir Rahim fighting some local guy to South Georgia. And I got to tell you, the punishment that he inflicted on that man in 3 rounds, it was amazing. The fella could stand up after even the second round, and finally they got him on out of there. He got starched with a big right hand, and next thing you know, man, his legs were going one way, arms were going the other way, and they were helping him out of the arena. So it was
you have some great fighters. I actually, the Miller brothers are up, and I think the Lee brothers are also up in the Atlanta area. But shout out to my friends Cole Miller and Micah Miller, because when I first started, I did do my very first interview with them. And as we all have funny behind the scenes stories, I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. And so as I'm standing there looking like, or pretending like what I know I'm doing. I'm with my microphone looking very official. I'm saying, I was doing a story on the brother of Micah Miller. And I was saying, when Micah Miller is not pounding and grounding, looking all the more professional, saying it wrong, Cole taps me on the shoulder. He goes, you know what that is? He goes, it's ground and pound. I go, oh, I knew that. I just misspoke, but I didn't know anything. And they were very nice to me. And I applaud them and thank them. And I'm grateful and I'm blessed. And I think they're still in the Atlanta area last time I checked.
Yeah. So one of the other breaking stories is, and Iris, you can chime in on this. What we talked about a little bit about it last week, but of course the announcement that two guys that are in excess of 50 years old are going to come back to the ring as Mike Tyson and the man who's been his ear off, Mr. Evander Holyfield, obviously from Atlanta, are both looking to get back in the ring. Iris, I'm going to go back to you first. What do you think about the idea of these two 50-plus old guys to, get out here and try to get back in the really tough sport of boxing?
You know what? Here's my take on it. I know that we put a lot of emphasis on age, but if you've kept yourself up, then you know what? If you want to do it, do it. I don't want to be honest with you. I remember those fights back in the day, Holyfield and Mike Tyson, of course, being a Georgia girl, being, from Atlanta, I was always pulling for Evander. But it'll be good to see those guys again out there fighting. That's just my take on it. Don't let age be the deterrent to do something that you want to do in life, So go for it. So
I'm a living witness.
What do you think about it, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we wouldn't be on the air right now if I let age certainly get involved in this. I started this as a guy that was not a journalism major in school, did not go for sports journalism or really for any media. I was a political science guy, and and ended up in sales. I mean, that's what I did. Basically, I still do with sales. And one day, I can't believe it's been about 12 years ago now, I was driving, listening to a gospel station, the very station that we're on right now, WIGO 1570. And it was about this time of night, and it was all of a sudden I heard a sports show. I was like, well, that's kind of odd, a sports show on a gospel station. So, as usual, they say, hey, caller, call in, blah, blah, blah. And after the second time, a little voice said, if they say caller, call in again, you call. And I called, and that was the origins of what later became what we are now, the Real Talk Sports Show. And I can say, looking at both Evander and Mike, that they are my juniors. So, yeah, I got no problem with anybody any age getting out doing their thing.
I applaud them. I think that new opportunities, as long as they're not going to injure themselves, if they can do it. Listen, I hope to be able to do reporting till I'm old enough that people still think I'm cute enough to maybe do my reporting on air. What do you think about that, Iris? You could so hopefully be able to be older.
You can't tell me point. Yes, I so agree with you on that. Hey, you know what? Do you? Don't let age be a deterrent at all. And if Jonathan, if you follow any of my personal Facebook page, every morning I put something inspirational on there. And that's one of the things too, a lot of times we talk ourselves out of greatness, and don't do that, don't look at it and say, oh my God, I'm 50 years old, 60 years old, I can't accomplish this. Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want to. That's right. So,
I agree.
That's just my take. Yes.
Amen. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that's right. That's what I look at. I mean, again, all the things about being a sports broadcaster, and Susan, about this, about everybody's looking at age and youth. But at the end of the day, what has inspired me over the years is that I've been able to interview, really some living legends. Before he retired from being the voice of the SEC, I've had two different opportunities here in Atlanta to interview Vern Lundquist. And of course, Vern also does the Master, that did that famous call where Tiger Woods hit that about 40-foot putt. And just, he just retired, I think, at 77. And the only reason he retired was because it was getting to the point where, people don't understand that when you're broadcasting something like the SEC or anything like that, there's a lot of volume of information. And they said it's just that he just couldn't keep, as in his prime days, he just couldn't keep all the information and keep it all straight. So he finally retired. But again, we're talking about a guy that had a career that spanned over 50 years, because he started in his 20s.
Wow, I didn't know that. God bless.
I didn't either. Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize, but a lot of our great hosts, guys like Brent Musburger and guys like that, all of these guys, really and Brent is still around, they're in their 70s. Mark Albert is in his 70s. Mark Albert was a young man when he was covering the Knicks in the 60s and 70s, actually to the 70s. So, yeah, at the end of the day, if you still have it, if your mind is still sharp, your body is still able to get you from point A to B, absolutely, let's go for it. Let's go. I'm all for that.
That's right.
I'm all for
Who
that.
do you think would take it though in a Holyfield if Tyson? Who are your picks? Do you guys think?
If Mike doesn't bite his ear again?
Yeah.
I will say this much. In looking at Mike, the tape that they showed, I was stunned at his hand speed. I couldn't believe how much hand speed and timing he had at age 53. Now, of course, when you see that, you have to understand that, first of all, there's from the hours and hours and hours that he's boxed over the years, it kind of gets ingrained to you. Iris, I know that you've been, flying in the air for some time. There's certain things that you do on the plane as far as how you interact with clients that is kind of second nature because you've been doing it so long. Same thing with you, Susan. I mean, you've been in that field for a while. So there's certain questions that, even if they sent you out there and say, look, you got to kind of do these interviews and with no scripting, you could still do it because there's a certain amount of skill sets that are in there. I mean, it's like muscle memory, really.
Yeah, I agree.
That's right.
Like I say, guys, I mean, I'm excited to be on here tonight. I'm always excited about ladies' night. Everybody teases me. They say, hey, Minister, you look like you get real extra happy when the women are on. Well, I mean, who wouldn't with all these lovely ladies that are coming on from various fields of sports? I mean, what man? Because I'm gonna tell you something. All you guys are like a guy's dream. Like guys, as we think about, man, wouldn't it be really cool? Like if I had a beautiful woman that actually likes sports. Like you guys are it. You guys are lovely, but you actually like sports for real. Like not just who scored a touchdown watching a baseball game. It's like, hey, the stats, the people involved, and you guys do a phenomenal job. Well, Susan, I know your schedule is kind of compressed. So one more time, let people know where they can find out more about you, follow you on social media, all that kind of good stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I'm at Susan Cingari MMA on Twitter and Instagram as well as YouTube. Sorry, guys, I don't do Facebook. And our website is www, of course, everybody knows that part now, mustlovemma.com.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this because this has come up a couple of times. Now, what is this? Is there an anti-Facebook movement going on that I'm not aware of?
Well,
I'm talking to some people say, I'm not on Facebook.
For me, I have to tell you that I'm actually very shy, and Facebook is all about pictures, and there's not a single picture that I ever take because I work both behind and in front of the camera that I don't look at and I go, God, I just look awful. Why can't we fix that? Plus, I just find so I'm not a person that's putting up a lot of pictures of me. It's really more about the show and more about the fighters, because my tagline is every fighter has a story. Plus, I don't know if it's supposed to be on a personal Facebook. I'm supposed to be on a regular page. I really don't know if anybody's really interested in what I'm eating or what I'm doing. I'm kind of like that old school journalist that's kind of a little private and likes to really focus on the subject.
Well, like I said, I understand exactly what you mean. I will tell people I've been on Facebook for a while. It's been a great it's a great way for us to kind of get our information out in the weeds, I should say. So it's been great. Yeah. We certainly have enjoyed being out here, and some of the many people I've met through Facebook has been fantastic. So, for me, it's a great thing. I think what it is that because of the fact that I've learned how to use it for what I think it was originally intended for. Right. Yeah, I try not to use it for anything but, for what it's intended for. So I just say, look, man, at the end of the day, we're going to kind of make it do what it do. And hopefully and prayerfully, like you said, we can just, do that. So I'm going to check on Facebook here for some reason. I got a sneaking suspicion. All I see is all I can see is just our track running. So I'm going to take a timeout break. Okay. Hang on tight, and we're going to see what we got here. You listen to the Real Talk Sports Shows, guys, and we're broadcasting to you on Atlanta's Incredible Radio, WIGO, and on realtalksports.net. Hang tight. Hi, everybody. We're back here. I think we might be finally broadcasting on Facebook. I do believe that at one point all people were getting was just the video, but I believe now that has been cured. I think that we are broadcasting live and clear here on Facebook. So if everybody can hear me and see me here. And just in time, because we're going to very, very shortly transition and talk a little bit about the big topic that's really been hitting sports. We talked about a little bit earlier on how the COVID-19 has been affecting really everybody, how we go about our business in sports, whether we're going to start playing, who's going to start playing. So this has been a big topic, certainly all around the sports world. So we're going to bring in actually some folks here that actually do this from the ground level and the ground floor. So ladies, just hang tight here, and we're going to bring up another guest. Let's see if I can get her onto the screen here. Let's see if we can get everybody on, and voila. Okay, there we go. So we have Dr. Desiree Clement. She's the co-director of a beautiful group that represents Georgia nurses. So Dr. Clement, we're going to say hello and welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show.
Hi, thank you for having me, Jonathan.
But one of the things that has been kind of the burning question here, and certainly Susan, who she covers, has been, they were kind of on the early vanguard with UFC, kind of getting out there and getting us sports on television for the first time. But I guess I'd like to get some feedback. First of all, what have you been hearing from your nurses group as far as the sensibilities of what's been happening on the ground? Have we really seen legitimately a flattening of the curve to the point that we all could be pretty confident about getting out and getting out there and, kind of being in the crowd, so to speak?
Yes, well, there has been some flattening of the curve. However, there is also talk about, and the statistics are showing that there could be a second coming of this. So we have to be careful of that. And we're starting to see some stats go up based on the fact that, we are congregating more together. And we also have more testing that's going on. So that also is part of the data analysis we need to look at.
And speaking of testing, I'm hearing that there are some more spots now where people can get testing for free, where they don't have to necessarily have their doctor's permit, so to speak. What are you hearing, and what could you advise people if they do want to get a test done?
Yes, that is correct. I know like Emory Healthcare is doing several of the different healthcare systems are offering it. Some CVSs are starting to offer testing that's available as well. And it's out there, it's available. I think you can also go to the Department of Public Health website, and that will also have some listings of where you can go and get the testing done. And with also different advisements available to the state and to our citizens.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that's very, very exciting. I know down where I am in Clayton County, I'm hearing that they have some opportunities to go in at no charge as well. Well, speaking of COVID-19 and nurses on the ground floor, we're going to bring up one of your other compatriots here, a lovely lady that has been actually in the studios of WIGO. Miss Michelle Nelson is in the building. Michelle, hello, and welcome.
Hello, Jonathan. It is such a pleasure to be with you again. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, again, we're very excited to have you ladies join us because, this is kind of been the 800-pound gorilla in the room, as all of us have been trying to get out here and figure out how we can cover sports, how we can play sports. So if you could just kind of follow in behind Dr. Clement and give us some feedback on what some of the actual nurses on the ground are dealing with, as far as, are they feeling a little bit less stressed now? Do they have hope that things are turning? What's kind of been what you've been seeing with the folks in your group?
It's not only what we've been seeing, but what we've been hearing. So we work with other groups that have been able to determine that nurses are still extremely worried about a lack of personal protective equipment, PPE, that they're under a tremendous amount of stress, duress, anxiety, depression. It's very difficult to be able to see the level of illness and people who are losing their lives without being affected. We as nurses are trained to deal with catastrophes all the time, but a public health catastrophe on such a grand scale has been unprecedented. And we really support our advanced practice nurses as well as our RNs. At a time like this, it is extremely difficult. We as as leaders doing a lot of legislative work. We are fighting for the rights of advanced practice nurses. There are things that can be done to help in times like this, but we're extremely concerned that there are things that are missing. There are nurses who have been fired and furloughed from their jobs, which adds an extra level of economic stress on nurses. So, we have to do our best to be able to care for our nurses. Nurses are the backbone of an interdisciplinary healthcare team. So extremely important to make sure that nurses are supported at this time.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this straight. All right, so if I'm hearing right, you're telling me that women and men and women who are on the front line have actually been fired from their jobs because they refuse to work, I'm assuming, elongated shifts. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, no, that's not what's happening. What has happened specifically is that, the census for many hospitals have dropped. When COVID-19 hit, a lot of hospitals had to close their ambulatory surgery centers. They are not doing elective surgeries, and so they've taken a hit to their bottom line as well. And we can understand that. Financially, you want to be able to make sure that you're doing your absolute best to keep the lights on in the hospital and people are being, their needs are being met. And so many clinical settings have had to shed jobs, which is inclusive of nurses. And with that being said, nurses, we're very resilient. We roll and we dip and we bob and we weave. And so what did some of the nurses do? They got on planes and went to some of the other hot spots, went to Louisiana, went to New York. Some of them went to Albany, which was the fourth highest incidence of COVID-related cases in the country. And so, it's definitely a problem, but they have had to find ways to make sure that they are still working and that they're being able to provide optimal levels of care in areas that are hardest hit.
Also, the shortage, Dr. Nelson, about the PPE that has been the biggest, challenge, I think, across the country, especially in the beginning stages of COVID. So as Dr. Nelson was saying, not only is it, people needing to make a livelihood and move on if they were able to have their shifts taken away from them or furloughed, but also we've heard many nurses say the lack of PPE has been an issue. Now, yes, there's a groundswell now of a lot of support and they're trying to get in this equipment, and it's definitely improved over time since the beginning of this. But one thing that we do know is that was some of it as well, is that some nurses felt there could be some retaliation if they spoke up and said they would have to work not with the most appropriate PPE, or they would have to wear the same PPE day in, day out on multiple shifts, which is not usually according to guidelines. So I think that's also some of the area where this came up, for nurses.
Well, let me just address that really quickly, or at least I shouldn't say address, get a question answered here. So I know myself, one of the things that I had to do early on is to, in fact, make those PPE stretch. So the idea was that we would go ahead and use something that my assumption is a disposable. Even the NV95, I don't think they're supposed to be used a lot. But what would you tell people that were in a situation where either financially or due to lack of availability, they had to use a PPE, more than one time? What would be the sensibility of, first of all, how many times they could use it, and then what they could do to maybe sanitize it so it would be safe to use a second time?
Well, you're going to have to use it repeatedly. If you don't have access to it at this point, some type of face protection is better than nothing at all. If you have surgical masks, if you have the N95, if you have masks, there are a lot of DIY YouTube videos on how to make a home mask. You need to wear something. I have to tell you that this past week, I went to the supermarket, and for the first time, I know that we see a lot on television that people are not wearing their PPE, but for the first time I went to the supermarket, and I would have to say 95% of the people in there had on a mask of some kind. It's absolutely imperative that we continue to wear them. It doesn't matter what talking heads on television are telling us. Social distancing is extremely important, and making sure that you have some type of face covering on your face. And not only is it to cover the mouth. I see a lot of people, they have their mouth covered and the nose is out, or they got the nose covered and they're talking to the bottom of the mask. The entire thing has to be fit around your face and fit snugly around the nose and the mouth area. I've heard people say things such as, I put my mask in the dryer to freshen it up and have things, if there are things on it, that kinds of kills it. I'm not really quite sure if that really works. That's something my uncle uses. But there are also, you can freshen it up with some sprays. But if you can wear it for a week or even more, particularly if you're not going out every day, make sure that you save it so that you can wear it repeatedly. And most certainly try to get some of those home masks made. There are a lot of groups around the city that are making masks and giving them away. So you got to try to snag you some.
Wow, that's really huge to hear that. Well, it makes me feel better because I have been reusing my mask repeatedly. So I'm glad to hear that I'm not out here making things worse. We're gonna go around social media here because we do, as I mentioned, broadcast on multiple channels here. So let's go here to Periscope, and we have someone just wants to say hello to you ladies. Let's see here. It's AL3 Nude One. He's saying hi, so we appreciate him. And Patrick Johnson on Facebook. We have sparked his interest because he says all this is very, very interesting to hear. One of the things that the reason why we do this on the sports show is that we just want to make sure that we put people in position to get information, because we have people that are getting ready now to get back. The Georgia High School Association, State Association, have decided they want the kids to now get back to start playing sports. They'll be practicing starting in June. We also know that the Falcons here locally are going to be, they've opened up their camps. We also are aware that soccer is back. Everything is back now. So that's why I wanted you guys to come on from the nursing industry and tell people now. One of the scenarios I floated for a way for fans to be in the stadium is similar to what one of the owners from the LA teams mentioned, is that if you took 1/5 to 1/6 of the total amount of fans that you had and then set up all proper distancing, similar to what they're doing in the airlines, do you think that if everyone, first of all, paid for the tickets in advance, everybody agreed to wear masks and keep them on, even though they're shot like maniacs, do you think it would be safe for maybe 10,000 people in a 70 or 80,000 fan stadium to get in there and safely watch a ball game?
My personal opinion, I think it would be safe, as long as you are maintaining social distancing. I know at this time that, we have orders where you should have gatherings of more than a certain amount of people. I think that it will be safe, but in time, I'm saying this with a caveat, I think we need to wait a little bit longer to see how this curve is going. Making sure that we're getting back to business as usual quickly, I don't know that it's going to be of great benefit to anyone. We want to make sure that the stats are going in the right way. We want to make sure that the levels of people who are infected with COVID-19 are coming down. It's better to be safer and to be home and watch a game on television than it is to go out and ignite a little spark and have this thing take off again. So I do think that in time, we definitely can have tens of thousands of people in the stadium. I don't know that it should be tomorrow.
Well, Iris, I'm going to ask you because you are over the Ultimate Dog Nation, which is a huge Georgia, University of Georgia fans. What's been the feel of what you've been hearing from people within the group as far as, are they ready now to say, look, we're willing to take the chance as we can get up there and maybe 15,000 of us get up here and play the Dogs or see the Dogs play? What's been the feeling that you've been getting on the Ultimate Dog Nation?
Kind of what I've been hearing from some of the other dog sports shows is that specifically for Georgia, and I'm not sure for, about the other teams, but other schools, but what they're looking to do is to award tickets, of course, they have to pay them, but award tickets to people who have been either donating the longest to the school or have made the largest donations. And they're going to block the seating so that, let's say for, Sanford Stadium, you have about, you can seat about 90,000 people. So they're looking at maybe only about 20,000 being able to watch a game. And they would have to basically, it was supposed to be a little less than that. But then, someone mentioned, hey, usually when you go to the game, you don't go by yourself. So you're going to take your family who you've been, sheltering in place with for the longest. So in that sense, they were talking about, maybe 20 to 30,000 people.
Yeah, I think that basically,
me personally, I'm with the nurses and the doctors. I want to see a little more data that should come out before I decide, I think I want to go out there and tailgate and go to a game right now. I'm still doing my social distancing. Yep. Still practicing.
we'll go back to social media here. We got a few more highs from the people on Periscope TV, which is also Twitter TV as well. They're popping up and saying hello, so we'll pop them on the screen. I think the name of the individual is Ostri, if I have it right. Let's go ahead and pop them on here. And they're saying hello and hi. He wanted to get a point. He said hi before, so we're going to get him out there. And back on Facebook Live, a good friend of our show, Donna Jones, a young lady I've known for years. Won't say how many because I'll give away our ages. But anyway, she's saying, ladies, good evening and be safe. And she's really pleased that we're getting this message out. And again, I know a lot of people say, dude, this is a sports show, but this is think about this. We have multiple leagues now that are looking to do things that we never would have thought. We have Major League Baseball looking to now potentially start playing games in a single stadium area, maybe in the Tampa, Florida area, or maybe out in Arizona. We hear that the NBA is thinking about having a NCAA style tournament where they would bring teams either into the Disney facility in Orlando and/or out in the new Vegas facility, and basically have all the teams come and have like a shootout where everybody plays in single elimination, almost like the NCAA. So this is the COVID-19 situation affects everybody. It's not just, it affects the first responder. It doesn't just affect, the people riding the buses. It affects everyone.
So Jonathan, can I add here, my poor husband, who is a sports junkie. I don't think that there could be any
good now. Big Falcons fan.
and Dr. Desiree Clement, my trusty co-director here, is a huge football fan, right along with my husband. And he is salivating. It's like you can just see the drool coming. He just can't wait for the games to start again. Poor fella is watching every old game. And I said, didn't you see that one 60,000 times? He can't get enough. And I do understand for the ultimate sport fans, you want to get back to sports. I got it. But I can also tell you, Jonathan, I've had a lot of friends lose parents and loved ones. As you know, I'm from New York, and New York has been extremely hard hit. Myself and all of my siblings, we're all in nursing. So these are all frontline heroes who have to go into hospitals every day, and to see the level of illness, the deaths that have occurred, we owe it to ourselves to get it right. You don't get a second chance at getting this right, particularly when your life is at stake. So we just ask for patience, particularly for those who are on the front lines, who are the ones giving the care. They need to have protection as well. So to the best of our ability, if we can stay home, we can stay safe, we can watch what we watch on television. I know it's not the same experience, but to be mindful of other people who have to go out and do the work. We, just a little while longer, and make sure that we're social distancing and we're getting it right this time. I think we have to make sure that it's done the right way.
And I agree, Jonathan. I like the fact that, they're wanting to do a staggered approach, because sports does bring a lot of joy to Americans in this country. I mean, we are very sports heavy in this country. We love our sports, and it's a great bonding experience with families and kids and everything. I'm a sports fan myself, big Braves and Falcons fan, and I'm just as excited as the next one. And I love SEC football. Oh my goodness, you can ask my husband. I watch it sometimes more than he does. Yep. So I'm with you on this, but I think it's smart that a lot of like the NBA and the NFL and National Baseball League, they're all looking at different ways to bring back the sports venues, and maybe thinking outside the box is just something we have to do this year. So I think that's going to be really important too as a sports fan, because everybody wants to see their sports, but we also don't want to incur more loss and things of what happens in this time frame. So, with our country. So like Dr. Nelson said, I think if we could do it smartly, and it sounds like several of the different sports leagues are starting to look at that sounds like a great plan. I'm excited, and I champion the various sports leagues that they're looking at this and not ready to go right back at it. So it sounds like they're trying to play it smart as well for the fans, and more importantly, also for the team members. It's just as important for the players as well to protect themselves.
That's right.
So Susan, I'm gonna bring you back in here. So have you gotten any feedback? Because obviously it's not the same, because it's more of an airborne contagion, ladies, if I can understand correctly, versus like AIDS. We were worried about, if somebody got cut, we had to worry about that. So Susan, what have you seen as far as now we're entering bare knuckle, where you obviously any type of fighting, you're in close proximity? What has been some of the thoughts from both the guys in the bare knuckle industry and MMA as far as when they would feel comfortable and starting to bring even a small smattering of fans in to watch the matches?
Well, I think the pulse of the industry with combat sports is it's so close contact. I think we're in a little bit of a different situation. I mean, I don't know, ladies. By the way, I applaud, God bless Dr. Desiree Clement and Michelle Nelson for taking such good care of us, along with all the rest of the nurses and doctors and other medical staff that are out there. Just to honor to be on the same show with you guys. I think with combat sports, one of the things that I was going to ask you ladies about as well is, you can get gym MRSA just from the mat. So I think with combat sports, we do need to be careful. I think people in the combat sports industry that are fighters, especially the bare knuckle people, and the MMA people as well, the combat sports, they're kind of the adrenaline junkies anyway. So I don't think we're going to be able to keep them down. But it is something that I'm concerned about. I know our gyms here in Florida are opening tomorrow. So we'll have to see. I think we do need to stay cautious. I did not go up because of COVID. I did not go up to cover the events up in Tampa because I thought it was a little too soon for me. But I think it's going to be more of an individual basis. And I think that, like the ladies were saying, we do need to have social distancing, even in combat sports. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. Well, we've already had some success. Dana White has had great success, and the Florida State Boxing Commission has done a great job in Florida. And they've had a couple of fights down here. Titan Fights is coming in again this weekend here. And Bare Knuckle, I'm hoping, will be coming back here. Bare Knuckle FC will be coming back here in Florida. But it is concerning because you've got blood, which I would assume, ladies, you chime in here right in here. We talked a few minutes before about that it isn't transmitted with AIDS, but the combat sport is really on top of each other with no head protection as well. And besides, Jonathan, I think you'll probably be able to answer this better than me. I can't really think of any other sport that has such close contact where you're actually breathing on the person, so to speak. But combat
no, there's
sports.
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Matter of fact, let's go to social media again. We have more comments and questions on there. So let's pop over to social media, get some of our comments. First of all, we're going to go back to, again, a good friend of mine who is an avid Washington National fans, and she has a question to ask here. So I'm going to pop her question on the screen. Let's see if we can grab it up here from Ms. Donna Jones. It'll take a little minute here to pop up. Lots of comments coming in across the social media airways. We appreciate you guys for joining us here on the Real Talk Sports Show. And there it is, Donna Jones's comment. She says she's a Washington National season ticket holder. She said she's okay, actually, without having a baseball season this year because safety first. But I know money talks. I hope that money doesn't override safety for the players and for the fans if they're allowed to attend towards the end of the season. Let's go here to Tim Conley, also on Facebook Live as well. Tim is giving a big shout out to all sports fans. Of course, he says, "Go Dogs!"
Go Dogs! I agree with you.
Dogs, yes.
There we go. And our last comment here is from a guy that you guys heard the story of me talking about how I got on the air and how I was listening to a sports show on a gospel station. Well, the gentleman there, Vincent Turner, was actually the guy who was hosting that show. So a big shout out to Vincent Turner, Mr. Football, does a great thing. He has a similar show on Facebook Live on 100 Yards of Sports. 100 Yards of Football on Sports Talk Radio. He says, "How about them Dogs with Jamie Newman? Go Dogs!" So Miss Iris Carter, you got a lot of fan stuff here about the Dogs.
A lot of love for the Dogs there.
Of course, you know what? Everybody loves those Dogs. I'm telling you, yes, the Dogs.
Yeah, a lot of love being shown for the Georgia Dogs. And now, again, I think we talked earlier, Iris, about some of the feedback that people are giving you about saying things about being safe. I'm going to shift a little bit into football. If we were actually watching and looking to go check out the Dogs this year, do you have maybe one or two young men that you've been kind of thinking in Dog Nation, they're going to have a breakout year in 2020?
Of course, I thought about this, Jonathan.
That's what I already knew.
I live, breathe, and eat my Bulldogs. I'm telling you. So, you know what? There are a couple of them, and I know, and I've done some research on this. I think that you know what? Let me just say this first. I was a Jake Fromm fan. I thought he should have stayed longer, but I am so excited about Jamie Newman. He was actually one of the ones that I had done some research on when Fromm had decided to declare to go, to the draft. I pulled up the ones that were out there. I took a look at them. KJ Costello. I know a lot of people were talking about Derek King, but I'm like, I don't think he wants to come to Georgia. So let's leave that alone. As it turned out, he didn't even enter in time. So I looked at all the other quarterbacks and I pulled up some videos. I do a lot of research, I'll be honest with you. And I like what I saw in Jamie. And so when I heard that the Dogs were going after him, I'm like, this is the guy. This is the one that we need, because we need a dynamic quarterback. Nothing against, Fromm at all. But if you guys had a chance, if you still, of course, you still have a chance, go back and take a look at some of the 2019 film on Jamie Newman with, when he was at Wake Forest as the quarterback. Yeah, it was very exciting. And the second person I have been waiting for a while to see, and, with Swift going pro, that didn't shock anyone. I'm really excited about watching Zeus. I am. So those are the two players. And of course, we have a new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. So that's really exciting too. So yeah, I think the Dogs they're gonna surprise a lot of people. I hear a lot of chatter about Florida, which it makes me laugh every time. I'm sorry, did I offend anyone about the Florida comment?
No.
Joe, and don't worry about me in Florida, because I'm too busy with MMA and combat sports on Sunday to watch to deal with any football. So go ahead, go Dogs, girls.
All right, Iris, I do have to say I'm a little partial to Richard LeConte. I went to high school with his daddy. He played football. We went to the same high school. We're friends. We just saw each other at the 30th reunion. So little easy. I think he's going to do a great job. He's one of the rising seniors this year.
As well, yes, I was happy he came back. I mean, the defense. So there's no one particular person on the defense that I'm excited about. The entire core came back. So
yes,
it's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be a great year.
Yes, and this is what I wear to social distance to keep.
Okay, let's zoom in on that. Let's take a quick peek here. We'll zoom in.
Yes, I love it.
We'll show that one more time for us, please. There it is.
Of course.
There you go.
Here it is.
And that I think that's one of the things that we have seen with the onrush of TikTok and other things. I think that this is a very resilient nation, and I think that people have done everything they could to say, you know what, I want to be able to enjoy this. I want to not let this get me down. So people have really taken great strides to, make homemade masks, make them in their team colors. I've seen people have them out there with the teeth and with dragons masks, all kind of things, because these are the kind of things you have to do in making the videos. I mean, I'm well removed from younger children age, but at the end of the day, when my great nieces and nephews came over for the holidays, I was like, hey, Y'all gonna take them back with you soon? So I can't imagine the parents out there that went from not seeing their kids until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to all of a sudden having these kids on their feet. So we appreciate everything that everybody's done to try to keep their mental health together. Let's flip back here one time to social media. Another question has popped up here about those dogs. Asking the question is, how is the sensibility of playing the Crimson Tide the second game of the year?
Oh my goodness. It's actually, I think it's the third game of the year.
Okay.
And, here's my take on it. I had a chance to think about that as well too. The Dogs will get started again June 8th. As Kirby Smart mentioned, physicality returns on June 8th. So they're going to be able to iron out a lot of stuff by that time. Because we don't play them until, like I said, the third week, sometime in September. The thing is, though, that'll be interesting because we played them in Tuscaloosa, which is the last time we beat them. And we don't play them too often during the regular season. So last time we beat them was in Tuscaloosa. That was Nick Saban's second year at Alabama, and we really shocked him. I mean, he really got it. Maybe that was a spark that lit the fire under him. I'm not sure. But there's been a lot of talk about the stadium possibly being empty during that game, because that's one of the things that the SEC was looking at. Even though the teams will be playing, they were thinking like the first 3 games, they will be played with no one in the stands. And so that kind of takes away the home crowd for the Tide. I mean, the Tide is really, they're going to be hard to beat. So the question came up, well, if Georgia went in and beat them, then that'll be the asterisk. Well, you guys beat us without it really being a home crowd. I don't really care if we beat them with a crowd, without a crowd. As long as you go in and beat the Tide, that's all that really matters, So and I'm that's how I see. I think about that.
And Dr. Clement, as you were saying that, Irish, Dr. Clement was in the background, like, yes, that's right. So we.
Yes.
So we can see. Listen, and there's no question. Yes. And as we getting towards the end of the broadcast, there's no question that we all, I think, and whether, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but whether you agree with guys on the right side or left side of the aisle, I think that everybody realizes the impact that sports has on the nation. Even to the point where, there was some talk initially, if you remember, everybody was petrified about the kids going back. But I think that everybody realizes that kids need to be out. I know you ladies would probably tell me better, but I think there's some type of sensibility about what sunlight does to us in terms of vitamin D and UV rays and all that kind of stuff, which I would think would lend to us being able to heal, as long as, again, we practice social distancing and things like that. So I think that everybody's excited. And then let's face it, that sports is a huge, huge economic engine in this country.
And just a morale booster, Jonathan. I mean, I think for our country, it's something to celebrate. And it'd be a great way for maybe some of these teams to highlight maybe our frontline heroes, and just a way to bring back our country. They can celebrate and just joy of sports, joy in other things. But I think when we can come back together, that might be a wonderful way to do it, is to be able to come back and say, hey, we're America, and we're beating this. We're coming back, and let's just celebrate something. Let's celebrate the joy of our team, watching our teams go at it. Whatever it may be. But I think sports is a way to bond and to heal as well too, if we do it smartly.
Oh, there's no question. Going back to social media again, Tim Connolly on Facebook popping back in, and he is clearly a Dawg fan, because you'll see his comments in just a second pop up here. We'll see if we can click that on here. Let's hit the show button. There we go. And Tim is saying that basically that the Dogs will beat Alabama, and he said in a box. So here's a statement. Here it comes up here. Yep. He said the Dogs will beat them in a box. He said we'll beat them with a pox. Let the big dog eat. So we got.
He's Dr. Susan it.
Tim's no joke. Yep. Now Miss Marie coming in from. Tim. Well, he's excited. We're going to Periscope now to Ms. Conley, and she's of the other oak. She's like, ma'am, folks, just everybody just stay home. And listen, I'm going to say this again. One of the things I've laid out in the broadcast before was the whole concept of what I mentioned earlier about how you could actually safely bring people into a stadium. You have a 70, 80,000 stadium. I would think that certainly you would lean towards playing games outdoors versus indoors. I would think the indoor stadiums I would think with all technology, be able to set up some type of exhaust system where the air could be moved in just one direction from maybe left or right or up or down, where you could, if you did have germs, hopefully get them out of the flow of air. Again, if you're talking only putting 10,000 people in a 70,000 seat stadium, you should be able to practice social distancing very much like the airlines are doing, making sure that there's no middle aisle. And then you might have to go back to church like the ushers would do and say aisle by aisle when you bring your offering. That's how you would get your food. And then last but not least, to eliminate any type of actual physical transfer, which Mercedes-Benz is always a step in that direction. No physical transfer of money of any type to avoid lines and all the things that normally would provide, to block social distancing. So to me, if you did those things, if you eliminate any type of will call windows before the game, if you set up maybe even something like the airlines where we bring people on and say, okay, everybody that has a ticket whose name is from A to D, you need to get here at 10 o'clock. Although it might be a little bit draconian in appearance at first, I think it would be a way for people to be safe, number one. And I think people would rally around that. I think people would just be excited to be out there and try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with that. It is absolutely imperative. And a lot of times throughout history, things have happened. We have had public health crises and catastrophes that have led us to become more resilient as a people, number one, and to find different ways of being more efficient, and the ingenuity of making sure that we're able to deliver different ways of living in a more quality, efficient way and safer. And we're now challenged to do that now. We're going to come out stronger because of this. And like Miss Marie said, it might still be too soon now. But this is ways to make sure that people are safe, people are protected when we go out, and that the players in themselves, they also have families. And you want to make sure that after they have entertained you, that they're going home and they're safe. Okay,
exactly.
Because they're not just pieces of meat here for our enjoyment and entertainment. They need to be protected as well. So hopefully this is now challenging us as a society to find ways to live healthier lives where we can have optimal, ways of living, as well as Jonathan, you're showing us some muscle. Yeah.
Them guns working, baby. Work them out.
So we're definitely going to get there. And in time, we have to adapt and be flexible as a society. And now is that time.
No doubt. One more time in the social media, because I know we're getting close to the hour. Another hi from Raheem Alameri. We're getting people literally from all over the world, which is very, very exciting that they're all tuning in here. Mr. Football is, I tell you, Miss Iris, we might just have you on every week, because I haven't seen this much activity on social media in a little while. So once again, the questions about them dogs. Mr. Football, Vincent Turner says, hold up. The Dogs haven't won anything yet. Any rebuttal back from Mr. Football, Miss Iris? Or you, Dr. Clements? I know you're a diehard fan too.
People kill me with that. Last I look, it's only one team each year that wins the entire thing. But when you're talking about the team that's in the mix, the Dogs are always up there. So,
that's right.
He needs to clarify when he says the Dogs haven't won anything yet. I don't know if he's meaning that in the past few years they won a lot of stuff. They just haven't won a national championship. That can. I'm not even going to. You know what, Jonathan? I read this article. This was back.
Look at Tim.
This was back about 4 months ago when the referee admitted that they blew the call in the national championship game against Alabama. No joke. So whatever.
Well, Tim is your boy because
this is their year. It's our year, the Dawg's year. It's the Dawg's year. What is Tim talking about now?
Well, Tim said that here's
That's
the real winning. He
right.
said you
That's
win the
right,
hearts
Tim.
and minds of the people in the recruiting fight. Listen, listen,
Got a good recruiting class.
Right.
no, there's no doubt.
Good recruiting
Number
class.
one recruiting class. We did win the national. That's right. And we picked up another big time player today. So we still got ways to go.
And I'd say,
Everybody loves the winner.
although, as a Georgia fan, although the Bulldogs didn't win last year, Alabama didn't either, and although the Falcons didn't win, guess
We
what?
were better
New
than
England didn't either. Woo-hoo!
That's right. That's right.
It was a
Susan-
banner year for Georgians either way, just not seeing Alabama New England in it.
I think number 4.
Susan, you see what we go through here in the Southeast?
I'm sorry, sir.
You see what we go through here in the Southeast, how
Hey,
rabid the fans are?
You're making me think I should take a weekend off and go to the Florida-Georgia game. That's what I'm sitting down here thinking over here in Florida.
You should go to the Florida-Georgia game. That's a doozy
That's
of
the one
one.
I want to go to, but I don't, we'll see.
I'll
how
be
it
sitting with
goes.
you guys though,
That's
because
my
I'm
thing right
I'm afraid if I sit with anybody else, you're going to come over and beat me up. Good for you, ladies.
I
As
got
long
you.
as you're 6 feet away, you can sit with us.
That's
Well
right.
done.
That's
Well,
right.
ladies-
That's right. Yes.
I hope and pray that
Yes.
I work for a car dealership in the during my full-time hours. Matter of fact, I can give them a shout out. Allen Vigil Ford in Lincoln. Check them out, 6790 Mount Zion Boulevard in the wonderful city of Monroe. You can shop us online 24/7 at allenvigilford.net. Or better yet, give me a call, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, 678-410-9833. I will be your personal automobile concierge. I had to get that in before I got off the air.
And I
But
need a
again,
new car, Jonathan.
well, I'm just telling
there
you,
you
and
go.
we carry every make and model on pre-owned cars, and for new cars, obviously we have the Ford product and the Lincoln product. But any type of vehicle pre-owned, I don't care whether it's Lexus, Mercedes, Toyotas, we actually have access to all of those. So seriously, just give me a call. You got my number. We're all into the whole social distancing and service now. So I actually perform the Chick-fil-A method. I have my mask and gloves on. We can deliver the vehicle to your home, and we can do most of the transaction by email and by phone.
Wow.
So that's how we do it.
impressive.
Pretty impressive.
But Jonathan,
Mhm.
before we go, we
Yes.
really just want the opportunity to talk about an event that we have coming up
Right.
right
And
now.
some breaking news. I want you to announce this. So when I saw this pop up, I couldn't believe it. One of the things, again, we try not to get too political on the show, but we'll just tell people what's going on with nurses right now. What's happening? Something unique.
So nurses are on the front lines as healthcare heroes, but we've had something historic happen here in Georgia. For the first time ever, we have had 13 nurses so far that we've counted that we have been able to find and to engage with running for office, whether it's a
Wow.
congressional or state level. They're either Democrat or Republican, a very diverse group. And we're so incredibly proud of our nurses. We know that we need more nurses in our legislature to be able to represent nursing issues. And it's not just about nurses, because we
Right.
talk about nurses all day long. It's about the citizens of Georgia who have a right, not a privilege, but a right for optimal health care. And so we have done our due diligence. We're seeking them out. We're engaging with them, and we are introducing them to the world. We have started a new campaign called Georgians United for Healthcare. You can find more information at www.georgiansunitedforhealthcare.org. And we had actually today the second in a series of 3 nurse candidate town hall meetings, and they have gone extraordinarily well. Our nurses are well spoken. They are the ultimate public servants, and we want people to log on to our new campaign and meet them. And 2, that's number 1. Number 2, make sure you're registered to vote. Number 3, which is really number 1, make sure that you vote. It is absolutely imperative. Early voting has started. June 9th is our election is upon us, the primaries, and make sure that you're absolutely ready for the general in November. Dr. Desiree Clement is going to be the host of Thursday's upcoming town hall. Dr. Clement, what do you want to
Yes.
add about this?
So we have the last of the three in our series, 3 to 4 nurse candidates in our series of almost 13 nurses running for office. And we have, well, it's 2 incumbents, Representative Jody Lott, who's a nurse. And also we have Representative Jasmine Clark. She's a microbiologist that teaches at the School of Nursing where I teach at Emory. And then we also have Tabitha Green, who is also going to be running for Congress, and then also Carol Field. And they're a mixture of Democrats, Republicans. We welcome all to come and be able to provide this platform for them to speak to the public and for you to listen to what they have to say, and also talk about nursing and healthcare, their opinions on that as well. We're just very proud to have nurses running for office. This is historic, first time ever. Currently, we only have 4 to 5 nurses in the legislature at a time that usually stay, and we've got the potential right now for 13, so we're happy to showcase them.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. So give people, again, website and social media where they can find out more about both the nurses that are running, the group that you have there, and also about your group of nurses that you guys have as well, because like I said, Michelle and Christine and several others have been at WIGO, so we know that there's some great work that you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm. So along with Desiree, I'm the co-director of the Coalition of Advanced Practice Registered Nurses, and I'm also the state president of United Advanced Practice Registered Nurses of Georgia. And we are all things, not only the dogs, like Dr. Clement, but we're all things nursing as well. And our absolute basic core principle is making sure that the citizens of Georgia have optimal levels of health care. Unfortunately, here in this state, we have a huge healthcare gap and access to care gap. And we want to make sure that nurses are able to fill those gaps and that our citizens are getting the absolute best that they can. When we talk about sports and how we would configure a stadium and social distancing, people don't realize that legislation is at the backbone of all of these decisions. And that is why it's absolutely imperative that we are engaged in the legislative process. We have the right people in office that will be able to make the right decisions that are going to ensure that the best environments, safest environments for
All right. Well, it looks like we kind of
go on your behalf. Legislation underscores everything that we do. So please get involved.
Well, there you go, guys. Information there. Again, we're not going to tell you what party or what person to vote for, but clearly the idea of having nurses, women and men that have an understanding of medicine on the ground floor, well, that can't be anything but a bonus to have them as part of our ruling citizenry. We're going to Mr. Turner one more time. He is somehow or another, we got him all stirred up out there. So he's got a couple of comments back to Miss Iris. First of all, he says that Alabama has won 17 national championships. And then he fires off and says that Nick Saban has 5 or 6 himself. And he says right now the Dogs have 0 of this moment. That's actually not true. They do have one. They did win one in 1980. And
with Herschel Walker.
Actually, they have 2. They have 2 unanimous.
They do.
Unanimous.
That is true. That's right. That's right. And then last but not least,
and 5 split. Yes. So
right.
Here's the deal. I need to let Mr. Turner know, because a lot of people like to live in the past. And last year, LSU won the national championship. So they're the only team that can really say anything about, what they. If you live in the past, you'll never get to the future. So I like to live in the future. So if you want to come with me, I mean, it may be maybe that's why he's living in the past, because he kind of knows where the future is heading. So, thank you, Mr. Turner.
Great comeback, Iris.
Over. Dynasty over.
Girl,
New England, dynasty over.
Yeah, that's over with, honey. And last time they were in the national championship, they looked awful. They looked awful. So, bye.
And of course, Tim has to give you support. He said they also won in 1949. He wanted to give you a big shout out and say that was the other year they won. It was in 49. Tim done thrown it out there. So there we go. Well, I will say this much. Oh, okay. Well, we got to get it straight. I will tell you that we have the first shots fired over the bow, which I think is going to be a very interesting NFC South this year. The GOAT, Mr. Tom Brady, was out playing golf with another GOAT, Tiger Woods, and somehow or another, something came up about not playing well or who he feared. And because Tiger was wearing a red, and he said, well, we definitely don't fear the Falcons. He said the only bird we might be worried about is the Eagles, but we certainly ain't thinking about the Falcons. Let me tell you, immediately, the newest Falcon, a former Florida grad, immediately got on there and said, we shall see. So I think that come the fall, the Tampa Bay Atlanta game might take on a new kind of meaning here, right there. So it should be very, very interesting here as Tom Brady has already thrown the first bit of shade over the bow. Mr. Turner has finally gave you some acquiescence. He said, go ahead, Miss Carter, go ahead.
You're all right, Mr. Turner. You know what? Hopefully, I'll have some. I'll be able to hang out with you.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, we look forward to that. And
I can, whatever.
Well, I do tell you, everybody, I am anticipating hopefully getting back out because we do a live version of the show. We've been fortunate enough down here where I am. They have a wonderful Holiday Inn suites, and I think somebody's knocking for Iris. And here we go. Okay,
it's Mr. Turner.
It might be Mr. Football.
It might be, Mr. Turner.
Coming over already. Could be. We're not sure, but I'm sure she'll get that straightened out at the appropriate time. So we'll kind of get her off the stream here for a second. I think we can remove her there. There we go. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so again, it's just been a pleasure having you ladies on to talk about, again, not just COVID-19, but a sensibility of how we can conduct ourselves in sports, how we can get back in it. Susan, always a pleasure having you talking about
Thank you so much.
the world of MMA. And now, ladies, can you believe this? Can you believe this? That bare knuckle boxing is back? I mean, incredible. But again, we appreciate you. Susan has been on the ground floor. She was one of the early reporters covering it. I do say one of the early female reporters covering mixed martial arts, and she's been on the ground floor. She's seen some of the great bouts in world history of MMA. Traveled all around the country to cover it, and award-winning writer and producer as well. So we thank you. Susan, how can people find out more about you in terms of social media and a website?
Before I give all that out, I want to just say it's an honor and a pleasure to be on your show again, Jonathan. You project such great energy and such great enthusiasm, and to be with the other three outstanding ladies, it's my honor and pleasure as well. You can reach me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Susan Cingari MMA.
No doubt. Well, guys, the one thing about being over the studio, I can actually I think, pop up a little banner that will tell you how to follow me. Let's see if everything will work here tonight. I think it might. Let's scroll down, look for my magic banner. And I found it. Ta-da! Here you can follow me, guys. You can follow me personally at, come on, there you go, Minister J. Sim. Or you also can follow the show at Real Talk Sports 7. For those people who are first-time watchers of the show, the reason why I'm called Minister J. Sim, because I actually am a real live licensed minister. I've been in ministry for about almost 30 years now, and I actually do a ministry broadcast on Wednesdays called The Clarion Call. It comes on 9:30 a.m., broadcast on here on Facebook Live, also on Periscope and on WIGO. So if you want a word that's, I'm going to give it to you kind of straight ahead, in plain language, we will get some D's and Dow's. We'll actually try to explain those and hopefully help us all put those into good practice. So if you want to do it again, follow me at Minister J. Sim or at Real Talk Sports 7. I think Iris has returned. Iris, the big question is, everybody wants to know, was the knock on the door Mr. Football or no?
No.
No. Okay. Well, she said, y'all in my business. Y'all can't do that. Okay. Well, never mind. We just, we have to always kind of check in on our guests, because all we heard was, and all of a sudden everything went down.
Yes.
So we didn't know what was going on over there. So Iris,
we're good.
You're here. Okay, so now you got to sign off. Tell people how they can find out more about your page. I think don't you have 2 pages on Facebook where people can follow you? 2 pages? Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, I have the Ultimate Dog Nation.
Yes.
You talking about that one, or in my personal Iris Fambro Carter?
No, you don't have to get personal. You can just talk about the Dog Nation.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's just the dogs, the Ultimate Dog Nation. Mm-hmm.
All right, follow again. You guys actually one of the fastest growing Georgia affiliate pages on Facebook. You guys have been, rocketing. So Again, guys, great stuff going on.
Yes,
Dawg
it
Nation.
has been amazing. We try to put content out there that's kind of unique. We do, I think I spend a lot of time up researching things. So I like to put a lot of unique stories out there, stuff we'll even come up with at times. Some of the people that we've been able, you as one to, Jonathan, you joined the group, but we got some former Bulldogs in the group already as well too, and they're pretty active. So it's been a good group. It's been a good group.
Very active. Yep,
Yeah.
very active.
Mhm.
Bulldog
Very
Nation
active.
shining forth there. We're going to hopefully have, when the next time you come on, a good friend of mine is a former Lady Dog herself. She's very, very humble, but a two-time All-American in track, the second African-American woman to be nominated homecoming queen at Georgia. She actually helped us cover the Rose Bowl. She was there at the Rose Bowl covering there and got some great stuff in the locker room. As some of the all-time greats were there with Sony Michelle, Garrison Hurst, all those guys were there, and so it was just great. So want to support Bulldog Nation. We also, you Yellow Jackets. Yes, I remember my very first credential after Clark Atlanta was with Georgia Tech. So we had the great Ken Swilling here. So we love everybody. Amen. All right, ladies, listen, we appreciate you so much for joining us here. Stay in touch with us. We look forward to having you guys back on the show. For everybody watching and listening, as I always encourage you, the minister part of me got to come out. You need to know the Lord, because as you can see, there's so much stuff going on in this world. If you don't know Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, I'm going to say, please, ma'am, please, sir, get to know him today. Why? Because nobody loves you like Jesus. Not absolutely no one, not your mom, not your auntie, not grandmama and them. Nobody loves you like him because he made you. He died for you. He loves you. And plus, relationship with him is how you stay away from going to a bad place. Nobody wants to go there. All right, guys. Until the next time, God bless you and have a great day. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I enjoyed it. Nice meeting all of you.
Ladies, thank you. Great meeting you.
Thank you.